After years of hearing, "You're just the babysitter of the family," my mom announced. "If you want to stay here, start paying rent." I smiled, grabbed my bags, and drove off. A week later, my brother texted in panic. The credit card declined. "Did you forget the payment?" Without thinking twice, I shouted. After years of being treated like I was less than a guest in my own home, after being called the babysitter, the errand boy, the third parent without rights, my mom looked me dead in the eye in front of everyone and said the words I'll never forget. "If you want to keep living here, Dylan, you're going to have to start paying rent." And they all laughed. My brother, slouched on the couch like a king, didn't even pause his game. Camila giggled from the kitchen while pouring herself a glass of wine, like this was some kind of sitcom and I was the punchline. Even my mom smirked, like she just dropped some wisdom I was supposed to be thankful for. But this wasn't new. The mocking, the guilt-tripping, the casual disrespect. It had been building for years. I was 25. I had a full-time job, paid for more bills than anyone else in that house, cooked meals, cleaned messes I didn't make, and practically raised my brother's kids while he and Camila went out on date nights. That happened 3 times a week. I drove the twins to and from school, did their homework with them, packed their lunches, read them bedtime stories. But in that moment, none of it mattered. Not to them. All they saw was someone they could use. I stood there in the middle of the living room holding a laundry basket I never got to finish folding. And for once, I didn't try to explain myself. I didn't argue or beg or list everything I'd done. I just turned around, walked to my room, and grabbed my bags. No one followed me. They probably assumed I was being dramatic. But this wasn't drama. This was done. I didn't pack neatly. I shoved clothes into my duffel, unplugged my laptop, yanked chargers from the wall, grabbed my toiletries, and took the grocery and gas cards that were tied to my bank account. They'd had no problem swiping those every week without asking. Then I walked out. The hotel I found wasn't fancy, but it was quiet. No kids screaming, no one asking where their socks were, no one banging on the door because they needed a ride somewhere. I laid down on the bed and realized I hadn't heard silence like that in over 2 years. By morning, my phone was flooded with messages. "Mom, where did you go?" Brother, "You serious right now?" Camila, "We have plans tonight. Can you come back?" Even my sister, who lived out of state and hadn't called in 6 months, sent me a novel about family obligations. I didn't answer. I just ordered breakfast, streamed a movie, and started looking for a short-term rental. By the 5th day, I had one, a weekly place with a small kitchenette, enough room for me and only me. No toys on the floor, no spilled juice, no crusty dishes stacked in the sink. I made a grilled cheese and actually got to eat it hot. And that's when my phone buzzed again. It was my brother. The credit card got declined. "Did you forget the payment?" I stared at the message, blinked, then burst out laughing. Forget? No, I didn't forget. I just stopped. They were about to feel everything they thought they could dump on me. And this was only the beginning. The credit card declined. That one text told me everything I needed to know. They had no idea what I'd been covering. My brother thought the bills paid themselves, that groceries magically appeared in the fridge, that Amazon packages just showed up because he was lucky. Camila once bragged to her friend that she and my brother had figured it out financially. Yeah, by leeching off me. I never minded helping at first. When my brother and Camila had the twins, things got chaotic. I moved back home thinking it would be temporary. Then I got a remote job, started saving money, and figured, why not stay a bit longer, help out? They were drowning with 2 kids, and no clue how to parent. But over time, help became expectation. Expectation became duty. Duty became blame. When something went wrong, the Wi-Fi glitched, the fridge broke, someone missed the doctor's appointment. Somehow, it was always my fault. I became the backup plan for everything. Except now I wasn't. I never replied to my brother's message. I just watched as the group chats exploded. Why is the electricity bill past due? The internet isn't working. I thought you renewed the car insurance. I tried to use the gas card, and it said insufficient funds. I did what they never expected. I stayed silent. The funniest part, most of the accounts were in my name. Not because I wanted control, because no one else would open them. Bad credit. Too busy. No idea how. So, guess who stepped up? Dylan. But Dylan was gone now. And so was his generosity. By day 7, my mom left a voicemail. Her tone had changed. Dylan, honey, I think we all overreacted a bit. We should talk. Maybe come over for dinner. Everyone misses you. I almost choked on my coffee. Not one person had said a single apology. And now I was being lured back with a reheated casserole and fake smiles. Still, I agreed. Not because I missed them. Not because I wanted to patch things up. But because I needed to see how far they'd fallen without me propping them up. So I said, sure, I'll come over. The house was different. Tense. Quiet. No background music. No smell of fresh food. No laughter. The lights were dimmer. One of the twins' toys was broken and still lying in the middle of the floor. Camila answered the door with a forced grin. My brother hovered behind her like a nervous waiter. My mom sat at the table with her phone face down, something she never did. Dinner started slow. Chicken, rice, store-brand soda. They talked about normal things for a while. Weather, work, my sister's new boyfriend. The twins were at Camila's parents', conveniently. Then it shifted. My mom sighed, put down her fork, and said they'd been talking. That I made a point by leaving, but that I needed to understand something. You live here. You should contribute. That's just how it works in families. It spiraled from there. No logic, just nonsense. They said I owed them because they let me stay so long, that I had no right to act like a victim, that I was selfish, that I abandoned the kids, that my brother had to cancel a weekend trip because of me. 2 hours of this, and I didn't argue once. I smiled, nodded, said I understood, said I had to use the bathroom before heading out. And I did. I walked in, locked the door, turned the faucet on full blast so they wouldn't hear, and made a disaster. Didn't flush, didn't wipe, didn't even close the lid. I made sure it stank like a gas leak and left the fan off. Then I walked out, said thanks for dinner, and left. 40 minutes later, my phone started vibrating nonstop. I picked up once. My mom was yelling. My brother was yelling behind her. I think I heard Camila gagging in the background. I said, maybe next time don't treat the one person keeping your lives from falling apart like garbage. Then I hung up. I blocked the whole family on everything. They still didn't get it. But they were about to. It didn't take long for the peace to become addictive. My little weekly rental wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. No screaming kids, no guilt trips, no slamming doors or whispered insults, just quiet. Loud enough for me to hear myself think. I worked in silence, cooked when I wanted, and sat in bed at night watching shows I actually liked. I didn't even realize how tightly wounded I'd been until it all stopped. But just as I was settling into this strange new comfort, the calls started again. New numbers, different area codes. Then came the messages from my sister. They're really sorry this time. They just want to talk, followed by screenshots from my mom. Blurry photos of the twins holding up crayon drawings that said, "We miss Uncle Dylan." Classic. They didn't miss me. They missed what I did. I waited, watched. Then, 2 weeks after the bathroom incident, I got a message from my brother. Just 3 words. We messed up. I didn't respond. A few days later, my mom sent a message that actually made me stop scrolling. Let's have dinner. No expectations, just family. We want to apologize. I didn't believe them, not for a second, but I said yes. Not because I was open to forgiving them, but because I wanted to see just how far they'd go pretending. Dinner was at 7. I showed up at 7:20. The house was fake clean. You know the kind, when the surface is wiped down, but everything underneath is still rotting. Camila greeted me with this awkward half hug. My mom tried to act casual, like we didn't just have a civil war 3 weeks ago. My brother poured me a drink like we were best friends. I kept my face still. Let them play it out. We ate. They didn't apologize. Not really. Instead, they turned it into a pity campaign. Things had been hard. The kids were confused. Bills were piling up. The internet went out 3 times last week. My mom said she had to pawn her old bracelet to pay for gas. Camila looked like she hadn't slept in days. Then came the kicker. So, we were thinking maybe we could just reset things. My mom said, "You move back, just until things get stable again. We know we said some things we didn't mean, but at the end of the day, family is family." I didn't answer, just chewed. "We need you to take care of the twins again." "Of course," Camila added, "at least until we get back on our feet. And maybe help with a few payments this time," my brother chimed in. "Nothing crazy, just the basics, because that's how it should be, right?" That last part, that's how it should be. Not one of them offered anything in return. No mention of respect. No talk of splitting things fairly. They didn't want me back. They wanted the old system back. The one where I was invisible unless something needed fixing. They thought I was dumb enough to buy the apology dinner. I stayed for dessert. Said I had to use the bathroom before heading out. This time, I didn't go for destruction. I went for decay. I clogged the toilet just enough. Left the sink running until it dripped into the hallway carpet. Smeared a little jam under the towel rack just to attract ants. Nothing immediate. Just a slow, steady rot. Then I left. An hour later, the messages started again. This time, they weren't trying to be nice. "You're disgusting. What the hell is wrong with you? Do you think this is funny? You're a psycho." I didn't even reply. I was too busy signing the lease on my new apartment. A 1-bedroom, 2nd-floor unit overlooking a little park. Rent wasn't cheap, but I could afford it because I'd always been the one keeping them afloat. They just finally noticed after the ship started sinking. The new apartment felt too quiet at first. No cartoons blaring. No one asking me to watch the kids for just an hour. Just me, a couch, my own groceries, and silence. It was strange, but in the best possible way. I didn't owe anyone anything. And then something happened that none of them could have predicted. I got promoted. It came out of nowhere. A Thursday morning call from my manager. He said they noticed how I'd taken over more responsibility since the last team shift. How I kept things running even when upper management slacked. Apparently, I'd already been unofficially doing the work of someone 2 levels up. They bumped me up. Full title. Full salary jump. Remote still, but with a serious bonus and benefits that made my head spin. The first person I wanted to tell wasn't family. It was me. That version of me from a year ago, quietly losing it while changing diapers and fixing routers and being treated like a human backup generator. I took myself out that night. Steak, whiskey, dessert. The bill was more than I used to spend in a week, and I didn't flinch. The next day, I updated my LinkedIn. That's when it started again. I hadn't blocked my sister. Figured she'd flake out like usual. But she must have shown my profile to everyone because suddenly I got this flood of messages like I'd committed a crime. My brother. "Seriously? You're making that kind of money now and you just let us drown?" Camila. "Wow. Must be nice to forget your family when you level up." My mom. "You used to be such a good boy. I don't even know who you are anymore." And then came the one that actually made me laugh. "You owe us for everything we did for you." Right. Like letting me live in my own house while raising their kids and covering their bills was some kind of favor. I was about to ignore it all when I got a message from a random number. It was a video. I opened it, expecting something stupid, maybe a clip of the twins trying to guilt me. But it wasn't that. It was footage of my room. My old room. Empty. But with all my posters still up. A trash bag in the corner. Then the camera panned down to the floorboards. My brother was filming. He was prying them up, and he found what he was looking for. My box. Back when I lived there, I kept a locked metal box under the floorboards. It held old IDs, pay stubs, passwords, and a backup drive with years of client files, personal documents, and tax stuff. Things I didn't trust leaving on my laptop. I'd forgotten to grab it when I left in a rush. They had it now. Then the text started again. Maybe come talk to us in person this time. You really want us holding on to this? Family shares everything, right? That box held more than data. It held my entire freelance side hustle, including client lists, saved earnings, and contracts. If they tried to access it, or worse, delete anything, I didn't panic. Instead, I made a call. A buddy of mine from college was a cybersecurity analyst. I explained everything. He walked me through locking down accounts, changing encryption keys, and wiping remote data access tied to that drive. I activated the kill switch I had built into the backup drive. Within 10 minutes, everything inside was useless. Blank files, corrupted folders, nothing salvageable. Then, I messaged my brother one thing. You had one chance to be decent. That's over now. No reply. The next morning, I found out they'd been trying to use my old login to access financial apps. Tried guessing my bank passwords. Even tried logging into my work portal. That one triggered a fraud alert, and my company froze the IP address. The best part? My company's legal team contacted me. Not to reprimand, but to offer help. They took it seriously. Told me if anyone tried to use company credentials tied to me, they'd pursue it. I was untouchable now. They thought I'd crawl back for forgiveness. Instead, I upgraded my life and locked every door behind me. 3 weeks passed. I didn't hear anything. Not from my brother. Not from my mom. Not even a guilt trip from Camila. I thought it was over. Then came the Facebook post. Camila had gone full soap opera. A long, dramatic status filled with half-truths, twisted stories, and cherry-picked details. How Dylan abandoned his family in their time of need. How I supposedly stole from them while living under their roof. And how I emotionally traumatized the twins with my selfishness. She even uploaded a photo, one of me carrying Ethan on my shoulders from 2 years ago, and captioned it, "He used to love them like they were his own." What happened to you? Over 100 comments in a day. Friends of theirs chimed in. Neighbors. Distant relatives I hadn't seen since middle school. A few people messaged me privately. Some genuinely confused. Others wanting the tea. I didn't answer any of them. I just watched the storm build. What they didn't expect was that my friends, my coworkers, even my old college roommate jumped into the comments section, not defending me with vague words, posting actual receipts, screenshots of texts from my mom asking me for money, Venmo payments showing I covered groceries. One even posted a screen grab of a group chat where Camila called me free daycare with Wi-Fi. It spread fast. The comments started turning. People began asking questions. Why didn't my brother have a job? Why was I, the youngest, paying so many bills? Why did none of them work nights, but always have time for spa days and Instagram? Camila tried to double down, saying it was all taken out of context. That didn't work. The post quietly disappeared 2 days later. But they didn't stop. The next blow came when my old car, the one I left behind, suddenly racked up 3 parking tickets in one weekend. Thing is, I had signed it over to my brother months before I left. He never registered it in his name, just drove it around like it was still mine. Then he left it parked outside a bar. 3 nights. No permit. No movement. They put the tickets in my name. I got the notice in the mail. I could have paid it. It wouldn't have hurt me. But I didn't. Instead, I sent in proof of the title transfer and emails confirming I'd handed the keys over. The DMV flagged it. Turns out he also never updated the insurance. He was driving around uninsured, under a name he no longer had legal access to. 2 days later, the car got towed. That's when he showed up unannounced at my apartment. I saw him through the peephole, disheveled, sweating, furious. He banged on the door like I owed him something. I didn't answer. He started yelling in the hallway. Said he needed to talk like men, that I was ruining his life, that I needed to fix this. My neighbor came out and told him to leave. He didn't, so I called the police. By the time they arrived, he had calmed down, or tried to pretend he had. Said it was a family misunderstanding. I told the officers everything, had proof, showed them texts, the title transfer, the messages about the drive, the threats. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I didn't. I just wanted it on record. My brother left humiliated. 3 hours later, my mom texted me, "You called the cops. On your own blood." I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked her. For good this time. I was done pretending. Done trying to be the good son, the helpful brother, the free resource. They weren't family. They were a sinking ship. Angry, I stopped patching the holes. And they weren't done trying to drag me down. After the cop incident, everything shifted. I didn't hear from any of them for over a week. No calls, no texts, not even cryptic subtweets. For a moment, I wondered if it was finally over. Then I found out the truth. Camila had been fired. My coworker, whose sister worked in the same salon, casually mentioned it in a Zoom meeting. She went off on a customer, like full meltdown, screaming in front of kids and everything. Someone filmed it. I found the video within minutes. Camila shouting at a woman for taking her tone and accusing her of not tipping enough. Her voice cracked like she hadn't slept in days. She looked rough. The comments were brutal. She was trending in the worst way. 3 days later, my mom called from a new number. I didn't answer. Voicemail. Just calling to say we're having some hard times. Thought you should know. Not asking for anything. Just thought you'd care. I didn't. Turns out the kids were pulled out of daycare. My brother quit his job, or got fired depending on who was telling the story. And they were now trying to run some kind of home business, which apparently meant posting Instagram ads for candles they bought in bulk and resold. No income, no savings, no backup. That was when the letters started showing up, handwritten ones. Like this was 1,942, and they were at war. Dear Dylan, one began in my mom's handwriting. We never wanted things to turn out like this. Family should never be enemies. Another said, you proved your point, but we're still family. The twins miss you. Can't you come by even just once? I threw them in the trash. They wanted me to feel like the bad guy for leaving. But I wasn't the one who turned love into obligation. I wasn't the one who used family as a shield for selfishness. And the worst part? They still couldn't admit they were wrong. Every letter had the same theme. You left. So now everything's ruined. Not one sentence about the years they relied on me. Used me. Made fun of me behind my back and to my face. Not one apology for the manipulation, the gaslighting, the entitlement. So I kept building my life. I got new furniture, started dating again, took a weekend trip to Colorado just because I could. I even signed up for a pottery class, something I never would have had the time or energy for back when my life was consumed with everyone else's needs. One night, I walked into my apartment, dropped my bag on the floor, and just stood there. The lights were low. A breeze came through the open window. The silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned, and that's when it hit me. I was finally free. Not because I escaped some cult or moved across the country, but because I said no, because I left, because I didn't go back. Even when they begged, even when they attacked, even when they tried everything to suck me back into the chaos, they were never going to change. But I did. Now I live 10 minutes away from them. Same city, same roads. I pass their streets sometimes on the way to the store, and I don't stop. I've heard they're still trying to figure things out, still struggling, still blaming everyone but themselves. Meanwhile, I'm 25, debt-free, earning more than I ever thought possible, and answering to no one. They always said I was just the babysitter, but the truth is, I was the backbone. Sometimes I wonder if they sit around that same table trying to figure out what went wrong. If they ever look at each other and realize the answer was never me leaving, it was how they treated me while I stayed. But it doesn't matter anymore. I've got peace now. I've got space. I've got a life that's actually mine. So to anyone who's ever been stuck in that same kind of house, feeling like the only one holding it together, you don't owe anyone your sanity just because they share your last name. Thanks for reading. I really mean that. Telling this story helped more than I expected. And if you're in the middle of your own version of this mess, just know walking away isn't failure. Sometimes it's survival. And when I walked away, everything finally collapsed exactly how it should have.